Howdy, and welcome to another episode of Adult Onset Horsemanship. I'm your host, Daniel Dolphin.
A little house cleaning to start. We have had and will continue to have the mock sponsors for each episode. I know they're fan favorites. Now that we have hit our 100th episode, we have got some exciting news. The Adult Onset Horsemanship Podcast has a real sponsor. As most of you know, I have and maintain facial hair. For Christmas this past year, my wife got me some mustache wax for my growing mustache. I have tried other products and they have left me wanting. Death Grip Mustache Wax has been head and shoulders above the others I've tried. I was so impressed and pleased that I reached out to them to see if they'd be interested in an arrangement, and they were. I have to say, just like their products, the company has been very easy to deal with and does what they say they're going to do. Plus, skulls. Am I right? So, if you're interested in high-quality men's grooming products, I can recommend them wholeheartedly and even offer you a discount on their products. You can find links in the show notes and the discount code written out, but if you'll go to their website and use discount code AOHPOD, all one word, you can save a nice chunk of change and still get a very high-quality product that won't let your whiskers down. They even have combs, oils, and a coffee mug designed to keep your lip cover nice and dry. Treat yourself or the man in your life to competition-winning waxes that offer style and make eating and drinking a whole lot easier. Guaranteed to make your man 50% sexier. So check out Death Grip Mustache Waxes and men's grooming products.
Hey y'all, I just wanted to give a little update on some of our upcoming events. We're about to get really busy here in the fall. At the end of August, first half of September, we'll be in the UK and we'll have a few events there. Please check those out. We would really love to fill the stuff in the UK. We'll be there presenting again at the Masterson Method International Gathering, and then we'll have two other clinics as well. We've got our very last clinic with open spots in the U.S. for this fall is at the end of September. That's in Mantua, Ohio. And again, we'd love to fill that one and just finish out the U.S. year really strong. Mid-October, we head over to New Zealand and we kick off that tour with New Zealand's Equifest. We then go to the South Island and we have got a clinic in the Canterbury area, and then another one around Dunedin. Then we head to Australia. We've got one at Maliula, and then Trafalgar, Lillico. All of those are in Victoria. Then we head to Tilling Hill in South Australia near Adelaide, and then we head to Queensland, and we have one at Toowoomba, and then another one at Alimba on the Sunshine Coast. Really love to see y'all at any of those clinics. Please share them and help us to make sure that they all get filled and we have a good, profitable end of the year, and we can help as many people and horses as possible. I'm very pleased to be speaking with our guest today. We have Mr. Steve Halfpenny from all the way on the other side of the world in Adelaide, South Australia. Steve runs the Silversand Horsemanship Centre. And Steve, I did want to let you know you have center spelled wrong on there. The E and the R are flipped around. Steve is a renowned Australian horseman and dressage trainer known for his expertise in natural horsemanship and the Light Hands Equitation method. He focuses on creating a partnership between horse and rider through gentle and effective communication. His approach blends traditional dressage principles with natural horsemanship techniques, aiming to achieve softness, lightness, and harmony in horse training. Steve conducts clinics, offers online courses, and has a strong following in the equestrian community for his compassionate and effective training methods. Steve, it is a real pleasure to be talking with you today. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Nice to be here.
Well, we start everybody off with the lightning round questions to kind of break the ice, and these are for points and prizes, so I want you to be on your absolute A game here, all right?
I'm in trouble already.
If you were a Jedi, what % chance is there that you would misuse the Force?
Or a great chance, I think.
That's fair. Morning or evening?
Morning.
All right. Me too. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
No.
Decisively answered. All right. What is your favorite pizza topping? What's your pizza order?
Mainly vegetarian, but chicken probably otherwise.
Okay. How do blind people know when they are done wiping? Any idea?
No idea.
One day I'm going to find one and ask. That fascinates me. If you could have any superpower, which one would you choose?
The ability to help people change.
Okay. So then I guess the internet would be your kryptonite in that case. Something like that.
Yeah, probably would be.
Of all the things out there that taste just like chicken, do you find it weird that eggs don't?
Yes.
All right. Is there a question out there that you can't seem to find the answer to?
Oh, the meaning of life, maybe?
Do you carry a knife? This is actually not
Yes.
even an Australian question. This is not a Crocodile Dundee thing at all. This is I'm an Eagle Scout, and that's one of our deals. So do you carry a knife?
And around horses, yeah.
Do you have a particular favorite? I'm kind of a knife nut.
I got one that I picked up in Ireland quite a few years ago that I really like. It's just a sheath knife,
Okay.
but it's real sharp, 4-inch blade, just handy.
Uh-huh. If you could bring back any old-fashioned word like dandy, gross, as in a quantity, curmudgeon, or something like that, what would it be?
Oh boy, I have no idea. There's a Scottish word that gets thrown around because my wife's Scottish. She says the glaikit. So you need to know what glaikit means, I suppose. It's not very intelligent.
Okay.
Fits well with horsemanship sometimes.
Okay. Yep. We all have our moments. Some have more than others.
Yes.
What would you have been professionally if not a horseman?
Oh, probably a builder.
Okay. You mentioned vegetarian. I don't know if you are generally a vegetarian, but how do you like your steak if you eat steak?
Well, I used to eat steak medium rare when I used to eat it. My wife's vegan, so generally I'm vegetarian nowadays.
Okay. Yeah, that's funny how that works.
Yeah.
What do you always have too much or not enough of?
Jobs to do.
Okay. That seems pretty fair. Yep.
Yeah.
What is the best horse movie?
It's Black Beauty.
Okay. Are you decisive or indecisive?
Decisive.
I can tell that right away. Cold showers or cold food forever, if you had to pick one. And I will clarify this because some people have misunderstood. The cold food can be cooked, just like refrigerated and not reheated. So no microwave, no stove, just cold food or cold showers.
Cold food.
Does it get pretty cold in the part of Australia where you are there?
It's been close to freezing the last few days. Yeah.
Okay. How big should a horse be? What's your ideal size?
16-1.
Okay. That's pretty good size. I make involuntary noises if I have to pick my foot up that high to mount one. Would you tell us something unexpected about you?
My mother taught me to knit and crochet when I was a child.
Okay. So that I would actually say my first time to come across you was actually finding one of your YouTube videos on how to make a rope halter years and years ago on YouTube. So does that sort of knitting and crocheting, you said builder, so that's kind of all spatial awareness and those sorts of things. You think that's where that comes from and helps you out, or?
Yeah, I'm sure it does. From an early age, I was always wanting to fix things, make things.
Right. How long do you dunk a cookie in milk?
I've never timed it, but before it falls apart.
Okay. But you like it on the soggier end, not the crispier end?
Yeah, soggy end.
Is there a skill or technique with a horse that you have seen in someone else and don't have mastered yourself, but wish you did?
Yeah. I've watched Buck Benjamin a whole lot of times and rode with him a few times, and just his ability to know what the horse is feeling.
Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well can you back a trailer?
9.
All right. Do you have a horse industry related pet peeve?
Oh, this is opening myself up, isn't it? Yeah, the real long and low stuff, like the Western pleasure type training. I don't think that's beneficial for horses' health.
Okay. So you don't believe it's a stretch after the contraction sort of thing, or do you believe it's always wrong or often done improperly, or?
I think it's become a fashion. If you look what was going on in the 60s, especially in the US, horses used to have the head carried fairly high in Western pleasure. Now it's low. And so I think it's just a fashion that goes around.
Okay. Feral or spoiled? So if you had to pick one to deal with, and maybe you're one that doesn't believe there is such a thing as a spoiled horse, but would you rather the blank slate or the carry some baggage and bad lessons learned?
Feral. Feral would be better.
Crunchy or smooth peanut butter?
Ooh, neither.
Neither. Okay. Not a peanut butter fan. All right.
No. It probably would be smooth if it was.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
What breed?
Belgian Shepherd.
Okay. So for actual herding ability or a more protection work, IPO, obedience type stuff, Schutzen or anything like that, or what?
Probably protection.
Okay. I have been wanting to scratch that itch and dip my toe into training some of those dogs for a long, long time and have never gotten to do it. And I guess with the time commitments of what we do, it's hard to have a hobby. But anyway.
It is.
I tell you what, let me ask. I have often found if I get a customer that comes to me and they have prior experience in the dog training world, they often translate to horses just like that, like a duck to water. They don't have any of the common problems most people have. They just take right to it. Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah. Yeah. and I've had dog trainers that were watching that would say they really see the connection between the discipline of horse training and dog training.
Bay or sorrel? I know a good horse is never a bad color, but bay?
Yeah.
All right. Bay horse mafia is still ruling the world out there. This is one of those things I never expected when I made these questions, but it's like nine out of 10 people pick bay when I asked that question. And I thought it'd be 50-50. I had no idea there was that kind of preference for bay horses. So.
Yeah. A bit racist, isn't it, really?
Do you have a favorite piece of tack or horse-related tool?
Yeah, I like a McCarty rein.
Okay. So when you say McCarty rein, are you talking mane hair or mohair or just the 22-foot aspect of it or what?
Well, mane hair, because I like the bridle horse philosophy, building a bridle horse. So mane hair would be nice. My everyday stuff's just yacht bread, just working stuff.
Mm-hmm. So do you like the prickles? Are you a gloves guy, or you let someone else break it in for you for a year before you ride it, or what?
I don't really notice it. I've got people that go, how could you ride with this? And I go, I don't have a problem with it. But I've got good stuff like Sarah Hagel stuff, which is pretty nice gear.
What is the best smell in the barn?
Horse smell, when you put your nose in their mane and smell the horse.
Okay, so that brings up a secondary question. Do you think you can smell the difference between the horses? Could you identify one by its smell?
Yes.
Okay. That's one of those deals. I don't know if I have a substandard nose or exactly what it is, but I don't think I could do that. And a lot of people tell me that they can. So maybe I need to test it out one of these days.
Not so much individual horses, but colors.
Okay. So that's interesting. That's another, like I've heard people that say they can tell a gated horse from a non-gated horse and things like that. And I kind of wonder if they're hearing the footfall pattern as it's approaching them, and that's the clue, maybe, or what? I don't know. But the colors, I'm really going to have to investigate this one day. Okay. On a scale of 31 to 37, how glad are you that people don't spontaneously express themselves through song and dance?
37.
I'm right there with you. I would go 39 on that one, actually. Thoughts or feelings? So are you more a cerebral, analytical sort of a guy, or a more emotional, intuitive, go with the gut kind of guy?
Oh, I'm probably 50-50.
Okay. I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite and least favorite barn chore?
No, actually time around the horses doing horse things for me is my relaxing time. So if I'm away from the computer out doing something with horses, I'm happy. Don't have to think much, just do it.
Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you. I never minded cleaning stalls or any of that kind of stuff. It's the worst part of being a horsemanship clinician is how much time you spend behind a computer. No question about that, right?
Absolutely.
Sweet, salty, or spicy?
Sweet.
Okay. Do you have a favorite dinosaur or deep sea creature?
No.
Okay, not at all. You even live on the subcontinent with like living dinosaurs all around you. You could care less. No cassowary or anything like that. Just nope.
No, we just get too many sharks around the country. When I was born in the UK, and when we were coming out to Australia, I met this Australian in the pub. I said, "What's it like over there?" He said, "Oh, we've got poisonous snakes, we've got crocodiles, we've got sharks." And I remember going home and going, "Why are we migrating to Australia? It sounds like a very dangerous place to live."
And then the last question for you, have you ever had a UFO encounter?
No.
That's a weird one. So like the first, I don't know, 2/3 of the people that I had on the podcast, probably half of them said they have had a UFO encounter. And then the last 40 people, I don't think anybody has. I don't know what's going on with that trend, but it changed dramatically. So I'm starting to think there's a conspiracy in here I'm not privy to or something. Oh, okay. I'm gonna tally your points here real quick. I've got you, Steve, at 6,187 points, which you may be thrilled to learn is our new high score of all time. And that entitles you to either an awkward silence or a genuine compliment, your choice.
I go with the compliment.
All right. Well, first of all, we do have a customer in common that we both work with pretty much. And I have to say, she holds you in the highest esteem. She speaks very, very highly of you. And I think that says a lot of you as well. From what I have seen of you, you seem to be very gifted in your systematic approach. Like when you said you would have been a builder professionally, I could see that right away because you definitely know how to put the cart before the horse sort of thing, keep everything in order and pragmatically go about it. I think a lot of people actually have, even people that are masterful at training horses, have a lot of trouble with the organization of what goes where, what comes before what else. They kind of are good enough to get by and make it work, but not necessarily doing it in the best, most efficient way. I think you really excel at that sort of stuff. And I have really enjoyed your podcast. I don't know if we'll cut this out or not, but I've listened to a bunch of your episodes. I was actually going to question you about one with Dr. Irena McFarland on polyvagal theory. I thought that was the best explanation of polyvagal theory I have ever heard in my life. So if you aren't going to resurrect the podcast, I'm going to tell you right now, I think you should. I was really enjoying, thought you had a very good program there. So anyway, that would be my compliment for you.
Wow. Thank you.
Well, the very first question that I tossed to everybody once we finish the icebreakers is, would you give us the 30,000 foot view of what it is that you do within the horseman?
I think I try and represent the horse's point of view to the owners. Often people come, and I guess I've got more of a reputation nowadays for dealing with horses that are troubled in some way and trying to interpret what I think the horse is going through rather than, the human's got a problem with the horse. It's like, what does the horse need to feel safe and secure and confident around us? And that seems to be really hard to get people to. They might hear the words, but they don't really understand the message. The horses are just trying to get by. And if they could work out that doing what you were offering was going to get them comfort, they would do it straight away.
Okay. Well, I've definitely heard you use the horse's lawyer term before, and that does seem to harken back to Tom and Bill. And I know a lot of your tutelage was with John St. Ryan, who's definitely a Tom person. So that all makes a lot of sense. I guess we could jump right off and talk about that a little bit right now. John was a pretty serious loss to the horse world when he passed. I know you were quite close with him. So would you tell us a little bit about your relationship with him and how he has influenced what you're doing?
Yeah, I'd heard about him for many years And I think even like Tom and Ray, I had that feeling that you couldn't really contact them and talk to them. They wouldn't be that open. But then finally he came to Australia and I got to meet him, luckily through mutual friends. The Millets, they sort of hijacked me from one clinic and changed my flights and sent me to ride with him. And the first instance was I borrowed a horse. So I turn up, I've got a week between clinics, and I've got a borrowed horse from the owner of the property. And the first thing she said, well, he hasn't been ridden for ages. He's 16, 2 or something, like a big horse. He tends to buck, doesn't want to steer very well. And I'm like, well, this is a great start. And he doesn't stop. Well, this is good. So I started working with him, and I just picked up the reins and had this feeling that, oh my goodness, I have to pull his head off to stop him. And I don't want to do that. So I said to John, look, he doesn't want to stop. What would I do? How do I stop him? I don't really want to get ugly with this and pull on him too hard because I don't think he gets it anyway. And he had me put my hands under the reins and just lift my hands straight up. He says, you can't pull, you just lift. And he said, if he changes speed, just drop the reins. And I think, well, he hasn't stopped. He said, but he changed. So drop the reins. So we did this. And he's a funny guy because your arms aching yet? Said, yeah, they're sort of aching. Well, just change hands. Just use one hand and then change. But aching, yeah, change hands. And it's like 10 minutes before he slowed down. And finally he slows down. What was amazing, like 3 days later, he was doing slide stops. And I thought I need to reward the stop. And he said, no, you need to reward the thought of slowing down or any idea that he has any understanding of what you're trying to offer him. And then we went to a little round yard, and we're riding in the round yard, and John's sitting under the trees on this little bench. And as he's talking, I could just hear Tom's voice. And then I got goosebumps on the back of my neck thinking, oh my God, that's Tom. All the people that I know that have learned from him have sort of changed it in some way. They've got their own twist into the story. And it felt like he was Tom. The way he was talking, the way he was setting things up to happen. And his humility was amazing. He'd been trying to help this lady for a while with something, and he'd told her several different ways about how to tackle it, and he still couldn't understand. So he just stopped and went, okay, I'm sorry, it's my fault. Let me find another way of trying to put this that you'll understand it. Oh, wow. No frustration, no anything. It's just the responsibility of finding the right message so the person could understand. And that's changed me a lot. And, sometimes we talk every week, we'd end up with friends and chatting about life and problems. And I really miss a mentor that if I'm having some sort of issue, I could talk to them and say, hey, what do you think we could do here? And he continued to help me, until he died, basically, it's a really sad part of my life to have lost him. And there's been a few over the years, and I don't know, you remember where you were when Tom died, but I know exactly where I was when Tom died. And the same with Ray. And even though I didn't know Tom personally, it felt like, oh, there's a big hole in the horse world. So it's just great to have somebody like John that would carry that forwards and keep it going. So I'm nowhere near those guys, but I'd like to try and spread that message the best way I can.
Well, I think a lot of people would consider you one of the front runners in accomplishing that, and it's probably just some fitting humility that maybe keeps you from seeing that. Are you familiar with imposter syndrome at all? That sort of feeling of undeservedness. But it's actually one of the signs. It's one of the signs that you do belong. The people that are the fakers, the frauds, they don't feel like imposters. They are like the Dunning-Kruger effect. They're strangely confident, even though they are not competent. So anyway,
yeah. Well, you're right. There's so much information in the world now. Trying to sort through accurate and useful information is fairly difficult.
I certainly agree with you. We can unpack that a little bit later on, but I don't envy the sort of average amateur horse owner out there trying to learn right now, because there is so much noise. It's hard to determine who actually knows what they're talking about and who is going to lead you on a 5-year problem before you figure out that what you had been taught wasn't very good.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you were originally born in England? How old were you when y'all moved to Australia? Do you consider yourself Australian? Okay. So do you consider yourself Australian or an Englishman living in Australia?
Australian now, I'll be 70 next year, so best part of my life's been in Australia.
I guess, 50 years is probably long enough to make the switch there.
Yeah.
So how did you get into horses? And then beyond horses, how did you get into teaching and doing the clinician thing and all of that? Because it's not exactly a mainstream job.
It is not. I met my wife fully within a few months of arriving in Australia, and we ended up getting married within a year or so. And one of the first things she said to me is, like, if I marry you, I want to have dogs, cats, and horses. I went, okay, sounds like a fair deal. And then she'd be always out with the horses. Like, we lived in a suburb near Adelaide, so we didn't have a property to have horses on. So she was always off to the stables where they were kept. So I'm like, boy, I got married, I don't get to see my wife. Like, she's at work all day and then out with the horses till dark. I need to get myself a horse. So I suppose it was almost like jealousy of the time that she was out with the horses and wasn't with me, which is a typical male thing to feel, I suppose. Stupid, but so the deal was, I'll get a horse, you look after it, because I don't want to do that. Like, I'll get the horse, you can look after it, and then you can teach me to ride. So she started to teach me to ride, and then she started showing horses. So I'd go along and he'd go to English shows and Western shows, and then we started to do more Western shows. Oh, I quite like this. Maybe I'll get involved. So I started to learn. In fact, one of the guys that I first met, he's passed away now, but I watched him riding, and he's doing a Western riding pattern, through the cones. And he's got his arms folded doing lead changes and around the cones. I went, oh my goodness. I don't know how on earth he's doing that, but I want to learn about that. And it turned from like a motorbike that you put away at the end of the day and don't see them again, to there's something that I need to get, and then many years later, my wife didn't like the way I was going because I was learning from Western trainers. So I was just training the horse. I wasn't becoming its partner or anything. I just wanted it to behave itself and do the job that I wanted it to do. And then Pat Pirelli came to Australia, and it was before there was a system or anything. It was just Pat and his son. And she dragged me along to this clinic to see Pat. I didn't know who he was. And just watching what he could do and how quickly things could change between a person and a horse just made me realize the big holes that I had in the relationship that a horse I had. And I was winning things with him, but it wasn't a good relationship. So that started sharing the thoughts and the ideas with other people. And then slowly, I carried on learning, and then Pat got a system. I became one of his instructors for close to 10 years. And just then the system, I didn't want to be constrained, in the end, by having to do things in a certain way. So I moved on.
Okay. Were you working as a builder to fund all of this before it became a profession for you, or what?
Well, when I first come to Australia, I got a job in the local council, just driving a truck on tree unit, pruning trees and one of those hoist things. So I ended up running the tree gang. Then I ended up working on earth moving equipment. Got a job out in the bush building roads. Then a friend who was a neighbor got me helping him building. So I kept changing professions, and then riding horses at weekends and helping, and slowly doing the showing stuff. And then once I got into with Pirelli, it became, well, you got an opportunity, you can be an instructor. So that started to build clinics and building up that stuff. But I'd done welding. I just didn't seem to find a career that felt like I was growing all the time. And when I got into horses, I realized there's no end to this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what you think you knew the first year seems to change completely the second year. And then as the years go by, and then even today, I'm, you know, at my age, I feel like I'm constantly changing depending on new information, new thoughts, whatever, and doing way, way less to get way more than I ever did. You know, I thought horse riding was very like mechanical. You push button A, you get something to happen. You push, it was all cues, instead of the horse can feel every part of you and can respond to every part of you. And there's probably a spiritual aspect of it that's even harder to talk about and explain to anybody else what's going on between you and a horse. So far, the journey's been teaching people the mechanics of how horses operate, mentally how they need to be safe around you, and what they need from you to feel confident and trusting of the environment you put them in. So yeah, it's been a journey, and I don't think I'll ever stop this one. There's no other career that I'm looking at. This is keep me going till the last day.
Well, that's the best way to be. Yeah, I don't have a retirement plan. I hope to do this as long as I physically can and then die. That's basically what I'm aiming for. So,
Yeah, my joke. I got a joke with people. I say, you know, when my horse comes back and he says, "Can you put him in the grave?" I think he stopped giving me cues. He must have expired.
I like that. There actually is it's a Guinness World Record, but there is a jockey that died mid-race, had a heart attack, and he finished the race in position on the horse and won, stone dead in the saddle, still in that crouched position and everything.
Wow,
it's really something, you know. I guess your body gets so used to certain stuff. Yeah.
You can't quit just because you're dead, can you, really?
Finish the job. Signed up for the whole race, not half of it. So I did want to ask you about this, and I wasn't aware that you were a Pirelli person earlier in your career, but I did notice on your website you do still use the term natural horsemanship a lot. I'll candidly say I haven't used that term in a long time, because there became elements to it that I thought I didn't want to be associated with. It became more about expensive halters and kind of, that sort of stuff, and not so much the horse. So how would you define natural horsemanship? What does that mean to you without all of the baggage and things that might be associated with it?
Yeah, well, I don't use it much anymore. I mean, I changed from natural horsemanship as a heading to Light Hands Equitation, because for start, I don't think it is natural at all what we do. Having a horse to learn to deal with another species and trust it is an art that you need to develop. I don't think it's at all natural. It's just, that's probably why people don't really get on so well at times with horses. So I almost think we should call it unnatural horsemanship. Just because of that way a human thinks and a way a horse thinks and reacts, it's so opposite to each other. That we need to learn to get on. Maybe compassionate horsemanship, maybe a better, enlightened horsemanship, whatever you want to call it. But it should come from mutual understanding of each other, rather than your dominance as a person over the horse.
And then, so your business is a pretty strong blend of of the Western, the natural horsemanship side, and then dressage. So how did that, like you even have dressage tests and things like that on your website. So how did that come about?
Yeah, it's the dressage is not like the competition style dressage. It's more, can you use dressage movements to help the horse soften and build muscle and carry itself properly? Because dressage was basically training, wasn't it? And it become to prepare a horse for battle in the early days. So dressage to me is just it's not for the competition. The competition is just a way of judging, can you do certain maneuvers? We don't even share our scores with each other when we do competitions here. It's really like a benchmark day where people get their score and check from how did they do last time to this time. And if they want to share with each other, they can. And then we do an award at the end of the year to see who's the most improved, things like that. But there's certain aspects of dressage that I think could be, well, let me start from the beginning. When we started the idea of doing our own competitions, we got the dressage rule book out, and went through see what we need to change. So we're going through all the rules, and as we went through, we went, there's nothing here we disagree with. Or should be relaxed, should be confident, supple, soft. And then you look at what's actually placing. You go, well, what happened to why aren't people reading the rules and applying the rules? And I guess it's a fashion, the same as other industries. And it's cyclical, maybe one day it'll go back to Iberian horses doing better at dressage because they naturally work from behind and they're not on the forehand, they're not got weight on the. I don't know what you believe about the balance of the horse, but I think if I've got weight in my hands in some way, that is going into the forehand of the horse and onto the ground. The balance of the horse has to be tipped forwards for me to feel weight in my hands, and I don't like that feeling. I like that balanced feeling. So that's what I'm trying to teach, and I don't want people to be confused with it's like the standard dressage that you might see where you'd want kilos in your hands to feel that you've got contact and collection.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's a very clear connection between the horse's tongue and the hind end. So if you have very much weight in your hand at all, you're locking the horse down. You're not helping them to move better. You're definitely hindering their movement. So I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we had a lady here, Sharon May Davis, that does dissections. We go through the anatomy of the horse, and she even did that where we put pressure on the horse's tongue on a deceased horse, and you'd move a hind leg, and it would move less when you putting pressure on the tongue. Went, wow, how does that work? It's not even alive, and it's restricting movement. And there was a very good trainer over here, like a dressage, classical type dressage trainer, and we were talking about bosals and bits and everything, and he was riding my horse around. I'd been riding him in a bosal, so he rode in the bosal, and he said, your horse, he probably better in a bridle. And he didn't say why. And then we're having dinner together in the evening. And he said, so when I ride and I do lead changes, I went, you do lead changes with your hands? He says, yes. Ever likely I can't see your lead changes. Like I'm watching him down the arena doing tempi lead changes, and can't see his hips moving, can't see his legs moving, but he's doing one after the other. So it must be some little touch on the reins to get the horse to. And that makes perfect sense, though. If that's a connection to a hind foot, then I guess the message, he's found a way of putting that message in his reins and the horse understanding it's a lead change. So that was pretty damn amazing. And not too many people understand, I think, that more contact is lessening the stride. It's making it harder for the horse to come underneath more.
Mm-hmm. So more leg, more whip, pull harder, and it just becomes this cycle of you make it harder for them to do it, and then you ask them harder to do the thing you made it harder for them to do, and then it just becomes this big negative. And then we need injections on the body worker, and it just compounds on itself.
I was offered a ride in Europe, on a fully trained horse, and I get on and it's walking along quietly and say, okay, pick up a contact, and we can canter around. I pick up a contact. I went, whoa, we're off. Like, this thing takes off with me. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, it's bolting. And at the end, I'll just let it go. I dropped the reins and it stopped. I went, wow. The only feeling I've ever had like that before that was when a horse is going to tear off with you and not stop. And I literally felt we're about to bolt. We're not going that fast, but we're bolting. And when I dropped the reins, the horse stopped, and the comment was, "Oh, horse loves to work, doesn't he?" I'm like, "Wow, that's working great." But yeah, horse was okay with it. It was just me that freaked out.
It's amazing how trainable they are, even into things that don't fit their best interests.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you mentioned long and low before, and I have to admit I am a bit of a long and low fan. I kind of view it I'm not looking at it in terms of balance on front end or back end. I'm looking at it more in the chain of muscles that we contract for collection, and a muscle can only stay contracted for so long, and it limits blood flow and stuff. And then you have to stretch the contracted muscle. So that's kind of how I view it is we can work on collection, but you can't work on collection for 45 minutes straight. You do it for a few minutes and then you stretch that muscle chain, and you can kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, well, dressage test is what, 5 or 6 minutes. So why you need to practice for an hour is beyond me. Yeah, I'd let my horse relax down. But you can have long and low with a nice curve in the neck that feels just as balanced. And then you look like there's some horses with a dead straight line, and they just go straight from the withers, and they feel like the head's a mile away from you. Like all the weight is furthest away that it could possibly be. That's definitely on the forehand. That's not useful. And they trip, a lot of those horses that come along that have been trained like that, they trip a lot. They become dangerous to ride. Because if they trip, there's no recovery. They're just so much on the forehand that they just roll over.
So how did you get more into the problem horses? Did you kind of do more of the colt starting stuff, and this all evolved, or where? I guess where did you start?
Yeah, we started with starting a few horses. We used to have a team of instructors for a while, and we'd have 2 or 3 months after Christmas where people would come from Europe, and the team that we had around the world would get together and we'd go, okay, let's start a whole bunch of horses. And I might work 4 or 5 a day. And then each of the other guys, so there might be 6 or 7 of them, would have the same few horses. And I'd end up, riding mine. And maybe if they're having trouble, I'd end up giving them a hand with theirs. So a lot of experience. And people that didn't want to ride the tricky ones would just say, hey, Steve could probably help you, just send them over there. And I didn't plan on working with more difficult horses. I just ended up happening that. I suppose even when I used to shoe horses for a living too, and there's the same with that. Horses that didn't want to have their feet done, they'd go, oh, Steve will do them, he'll spend some time and get them done. But I didn't want to build a name as a problem horse person, because generally they just needed started properly or restarting. They just didn't know what to do or how to behave. And compared to, Buck, I talked to Buck and he's started thousands of horses. Well, I'm nowhere in that line, fully 500, which is enough for me.
So with regard to the problem horses, do you find, like I asked you earlier about the feral versus spoiled, and I know spoiled can be a controversial sort of word, so maybe that's more mishandled or a horse that's learned poor habits or something, or maybe the safety thing hasn't been met and that horse is just totally on edge every single second around the person. Yeah. So what sort of patterns have you noticed in those horses?
I think if they've had a really bad experience, and people will get, if they get afraid, they'll often get pretty nasty in their attitude towards the horse. So if the horse gets worried, they've been had a hard time, I don't know, beaten or bashed or something in some way. So as soon as the horse gets the worry, the second trigger cuts in where, oh God, now I'm in serious trouble and I need to leave, bolt, buck, to whatever. So trying to get them over something that they think is traumatic is way harder than gradually building a new habit. Because every time you do something that reminds them of the med, even wearing a Western hat, sometimes I don't even wear it because if I put it on, whoever trained the horse before, the memory of that seems to come out and go, oh, don't wear that, just wear a cap or do something else. Don't trigger that up until they learn to trust you. And, I had one lady recently, and this horse was pretty hard. It did get away from me and bolted and run through the barbed wire fence, just zigzagging through the fence. I'm like, oh my goodness, because an emu came running out of the bush and scared it. And luckily, I wasn't riding it. But she was saying she would try and come up near its shoulder with the tarp, and every time it gets away from it, it launches, shies, and gets away. And I said, okay, so what are you going to do? So I'll keep doing it. So just don't do it anymore. She said, why would I not do that? I said, because every time you do it, it runs away. Like, don't do it. And I was riding him for a few weeks, and then slowly I'd carry a flag with me and ride with the flag and rub his neck and rub his shoulder and then touch him everywhere. I said, why is he letting you do that? I said, because I'm not coming in front the same way you did over and over and over. And so eventually maybe I'll get on the ground and do it. But people practice stuff that they think is going to help over and over when the horse is telling them. All you're doing is making it worse. And you're building in that deeper fear. And one of my lines is how long have you been trying this? And then they'll tell me a week, a month, a year, or whatever, 2 years. So, well, how long are you going to give it? And I said, what do you mean? I said, well, it hasn't worked in 2 years. How many more years are you going to give it before you look at another answer? And they give you that look like you're crazy or something. And I went, no, it's not me that's crazy.
Yeah, that lady accidentally built the trigger while she was trying to desensitize. So absolutely the wrong.
Yeah, all with good intentions. Like, it wasn't, she's a very nice person. It wasn't with bad intentions. That just, and the rearing, same, has he reared with you? No, he hasn't reared with me. Oh, he reared when I was long reining. He reared and he reared when he came back from you. Well, why is he rearing? I said, well, if he has to move his feet, I don't make him stand still. And that comes to the belief that the horse should absolutely listen, doesn't it? It should do as it's told. It should listen. I said, well, sometimes they can't. Sometimes doing what they need to do is the safest thing for you to do together. And then I think horses feel relieved that you've gone, I think we should move, before they take over and do it anyway. You think, we're going to leave. We may as well be my idea that we leave and go and do something before you have to do something where you've taken over. But that is really hard to get someone to think like that, because they're thinking about, you should stand still, don't be disobedient. I'm thinking, well, he can't stand still, so he needs to move before there's some sort of an explosion.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I took a note on it when you were talking about working with John St. Ryan and him having you hold your hands up and just use the rein that way. I have found with probably 80% of some of these horses that are real high RPM kind of horses, the reality is they don't know that they can stand still. And once you show them that they can, a lot of them actually wind up lazy. 3 or 4 days later, you're having to kind of pedal them and you're trying to get them to move out, where that was the horse you couldn't make stand still, a few days ago. I've always found that to be a pretty funny sort of correlation. We'll start a clinic. We'll say, I think this horse is going to be lazy come Sunday. Let's see if that works out. And most of the time it does,
It does. I have that because we do some 5-day camps now and some longer ones, which is great because you're having that more time with people to do things. And I'll explain it a little differently maybe. I'll say when they come, they're emotional. right? So you think you've got impulsion, you've got impulsiveness. The horse is emotionally having to move its feet and go somewhere. You worked on it until the emotion's gone. And now the horse doesn't want to go anywhere because you've got no impulsion. And they think impulsive is impulsion. I go, no, impulsive is impulsive. It's not impulsion.
Mm-hmm.
Impulsion is controlled, emotionally neutral forwards. So that's why you're pedaling so hard. It's because the horse doesn't know how to go off a cue. He just knows how to go. And
I like that a
and
lot.
they used to make me feel good riding a horse like that because I could just direct the energy. Oh, you're not using your legs. You're not using it. I said, no, I don't need to use my legs. I just need to steer. But once they get it over here, it might look a little uglier because I'm having to pedal a little bit to get it to move its feet. And even jumping horses, you've seen them. They race at jumps and jump, and then once you get them over that impulsiveness, they don't want to jump. So they would just jump anything you put in front of them when they're emotional. As soon as they're sort of confident, they're like, why would I jump? I don't need to jump.
Turns out he wanted to pull a wagon instead.
Yeah. So I know that's just my interpretation of what I think I see.
No, I like that a lot. Impulsive versus impulsion. I might have to steal that from you. That's really good.
You're welcome to it. I probably stole it from somebody anyway.
I do try to give credit, but after 10 years of it, I'll be danged if I can remember where I picked up half of the stuff I picked up, so that's all fair. One thing I wanted to talk with you about is firmness. I do worry a little bit, and feel free to disagree with me here, but kind of like you talked about things being cyclical, we have this move toward really gentle horsemanship. I don't feel like all horses can always be handled gently. And kind of what I mean by that is some of the bolting horses, the ones that are pretty troubled, sometimes your inroad into that is only going to happen. You're going to break the ice through firmness. And it might be 5 minutes later, it would be totally inappropriate to be firm with that horse. But sometimes enough of it is necessary in the beginning to kind of get your point across, or for them to start paying attention to you, or whatever it might be. So for instance, the horse you're talking about working with John, some people might think letting that thing run around for 15 minutes is pushing it too hard, and that would be more than you need to, when in essence you have to let it go as far as it needs to go before it's finally willing to take a look and try something different.
Let me shut these dogs up. Dogs are barking. I don't know whether you could hear that. It's driving me crazy.
I could not, so no worries.
Oh, that's good.
So for instance, like Ray Hunt, a lot of people, he's in that camp with the Dorrance brothers. Ray could be pretty darn tough at times. He might not be tough 10 minutes later, but there would be moments where I don't know if he were 50 right now and doing the things that he did with social media and all of that, I don't know how well that would play in today's world and so forth. So what do you think? I kind of worry that the pendulum may shift too far, and what is sometimes necessary and is not abusive can get labeled that way just because people lose any relative scale of it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got a message from somebody that there was a video of me riding a horse at the clinic here. And I did a one rein stop. This horse just wouldn't stop, so I just bent it with one rein. And then she must have shared it with somebody, and I got a message, I need to speak to you. This is terrible. I'm like, who are you? How did you get a video anyway? I looked at the video, I think, I'm not going to even talk to you, because if you think this is terrible, boy, oh boy, you haven't seen anything. So people watch me on my horse and they often say, you're really light, you're really soft with your hands. And I went, no, he is. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, he's really soft because he has boundaries. He's not allowed to just grab me and take over. and it becomes muscle memory, doesn't it? You do things over and over and over, so they automatically just do what you asked. But there are times if I'd have bought him for myself, I probably wouldn't have got him. I got him by accident. But he was so scared of humans that when he was born, they'd go to feed the mares and he'd run away. So day one, the owners come down to feed all the brood mares and he'd run away and hide and never did come near humans until, we weaned him and I brought him back from interstate for another person and I ended up with him. He would just burn ropes, just drag, just leave. You just move your hand and he's just gone. And he's become by short straws, he's the last one. I lost my good horse and I went, oh, well, I guess I'm going to have to ride him. But if I didn't control him, we would have both got killed. He could get so scared and at times it wouldn't have been real pretty. If I bend him, I'm like, we're stopping. Like, we're not, this isn't me waiting for you to slow down. We're not going. But if I have to get really firm, I get firm with one rein, because I don't want to be damaging the bars and doing stuff like that. And I ride with a bit with the lip strap underneath. So if I do take a hold, it's not going to go through the mouth. So you said the polyvagal theory. What was interesting with talking about that was they're saying whichever state the horse is in, the learning that they have in each state doesn't really get passed on to the next state. So when they're calm and quiet and everything's beautiful and, where everybody would like to be with horses, they can learn. When they start to get worried, they're in a different state, they don't learn really well. And then when they're in the life-threatening state, they just do whatever they have to do. And I didn't realize what I do at the time is I'm probably training in every one of those states. Because when it's calm, everything's calm. When they take over, I'm doing whatever it takes to control them. So they're learning that I can control them when they're in a different mental state. But I think for safety, nobody's doing that anymore. A horse gets scared and there's nothing because they haven't done anything to make sure they've got that safety net. That's why I smiled about the bending of it. The one thing that could save your life, somebody's really offended by, that you would bend a horse 90 degrees in its neck, that it's too much and you should never do that. It's like, well, they can look over their hip if they want to. So it's not excessive. And the other thing, this is probably one of Buck's lines, he said, get to the feet. If you're not getting to the feet, you're not getting to the mind. So just at a general time when you watch any clinic, I suppose, I'll say, park the front, move the hind, move the front, and the horse will drift sideways away from the rein. And then there's a release and they go somewhere else. I go, you should have done a little more, got the foot stops before you went somewhere else. And they go, but I don't want to do any more than that. But all you're doing is teaching the horse to drift and not stay on a line. Like, it's just doing things that you're not even aware of the consequences of what you're building in. You add worry to that. Now the horse is running sideways away from perceived danger. So yeah, I might get myself flamed here, but I will do what it takes to control. But I'll try and do it ethically and try and do it in the best way I possibly can to help the horse through the situation that it's in at the time. If that makes sense, Steve.
In my mind, you're just talking common sense and reality. I mean, I find the same thing. We kind of have this trend toward this more emotional connection and all of that stuff. And I find we now have lots of owners that are hiding anything. They're walking on bubble wrap around their horses. They don't ever put any pressure, any intensity on them. And at some point, the life is going to put some intensity on your horse. And if you have never practiced stopping them when they're elevated and the RPMs are a little higher, learning that lesson on the side of a mountain is probably not the place you want to teach it. So I very much agree with you there. I think we gotta practice, put some intensity and some pressure on the horses and showing them how to properly sort through that. That's the whole point of training them and being a good steward of them, in my opinion. So
yeah, I agree.
Well, it is about time I need to take a little break here and do our sponsor for this episode. So indulge me just a moment, Steve. And as you're
No problem.
in Australia, there I found a sponsor just for you. So we've got down under male support garments. Let's face it, mate. Bouncing around the outback in your Toyota Hilux or in an Australian stock horse, mustering beasts leaves a lot to be supported. Your wedding tackle can get beat plumb to nothing. It's time the family jewels were kept in a safe. Introducing down under male support garments. They're not just jocks, mate. No, fellas, these things have got padding, air circulation, and a hammock sort of situation going on. Once you've worn these down under for a jiffy, you'll know what's been missing in your life. A bloke on our side of the world has plenty to keep him busy. We've got to constantly explain to the northeast why the water swirls the wrong way. There's the whole drop bear myth to perpetuate. The Sheilas are always wanting to see us crack a stock whip riding hell's bells down a mountain. Your old fella shouldn't be top of your mind. And with down under male support garments, you'll forget he's even there. Comfort, air circulation, and protection are not too much to ask for. You live on the world's deadliest island, and it's about time somebody took some worry off your plate, mate. Cool things down under. We'll have your third armpit as dry as a dead dingo's donger. So we talked a little bit about, you were speaking about how John St. Ryan would kind of cater his message to the student, maybe try 3 or 4 different approaches. I'll often ask people what their profession is or something, and if I can think of a way to compare what we're doing to what they do for a living or something, I've often thought that that's what makes you a good teacher, is being able to tailor your message so that the student can hear it and understand it.
Mm-hmm.
One of these things that's been creeping up on me a lot lately is some of these equitation rules. So I have no idea where you fall on these, but one of mine is I frequently, in the course of riding young colts and problem horses, I will cross the neck with my inside rein without a second thought. It doesn't bother me in the least. I have yet to have my arm catch on fire when it happens or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes if I can exaggerate something a little bit more and get them to shift their weight the right way, then it kind of opens the door, the light goes off, and now I can ride in a better position. But if I'm unwilling to exaggerate things a little bit, then it may take me 3 times as long to get that message across or something. So how do you feel about that? Are you strictly adhering to the equitation rules, or will you violate them with reckless abandon like myself, or what?
Oh, you're a heretic, aren't you?
Absolutely.
It's how they do it that I try and avoid. They'll drag let's say neck rein anyway, across the rein to try and turn left with that right rein. And they'll tip the nose completely to the right to try and pull the horse over to the left. I go, now you've changed the balance of the horse completely. That's the lack of awareness that you need to keep the horse bent in the direction it's going when you're doing that is why I probably try to stop people doing it so much, because they're trying to get them aware of both ends at the same time. It's like, wow. And I've changed myself in that. If I thought I was going to do way more with the outside rein, I've often now just stopped the horse, backed it up until it stepped in the direction I wanted, then rode off again. So if it wasn't working at the walk, I just stop, back up, turn, go again, and keep doing that. I've got a filly here now that didn't steer at all when they dropped her off. She'd already been started, but she'd just fight the reins. And because she's a little Connemara pony, she gets pretty wound up mentally. So I just stop her quietly, back her up, turn left, go somewhere, ask her to turn right. She doesn't follow the reins, then stop her, back her up, turn right. And now she's doing it at the walk, and I'm starting at the trot. So I think if they understood it, they would do it. So yeah, I use my outside leg to help with the inside front as well as an outside front. So I believe energy on the outside of the horse is helping you turn them anyway. But if they're balanced, then they will turn. So if their mind is thinking of going through an outside shoulder, rather than pull a little harder, I'll just slow them down and then step them to the left, or slow them down, step them to the right. It's just something I do, I suppose. I don't even know whether it's right or wrong, but it feels like I don't change the shape of the horse. And I spend a lot of time trying to get that nice arc in the horse. If I'm going left, I want the whole body left. If I'm going right, I want the whole body right. So I use my body to change the shape, and then the reins to set the neck, basically. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm not against it. If it's working without changing the posture in the horse or putting you into a counter bend, then it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let me be clear. I am like you. I definitely don't want to be counter bending the horse where if I'm turning them left, they wind up with the flexion in the AO joint to the right.
Yeah.
The way I actually view it, if I'm asking for a flexion in the AO joint, so the atlanto-occipital joint right at the pole to the left, my left hand is coming toward my belly button, so it's coming more to center. And that way I view that I'm definitely doing that to separate bend and turn. So if my left hand now comes out over my knee, that's a turn. And so that is actually in my program, that's leading us toward riding in one hand, where I can just take my wrist, get them to flex left, and then I can rein to the left and have them turn to the left with the arc and everything. So we're always setting up the bend before the turn as two separate steps. So that's how I'm going about it.
I like to start with my hands in the middle, and then if they don't get it, then I will reach out a bit to bend them. But generally, I'd like them to bend just by moving my hands.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. But
so
then I finally got a horse. I finally got a horse in the bridle, straight up in the spade bit. So now you start to realize where I should have been heading. Because when you're starting horses all the time, you're not finishing things. You're just over and over and over putting the basics on something instead of get one to be ridden one-handed and rope off it and do stuff with it that makes you realize how important balance is and how important your body is. I'm setting everything up for you because you've got no ability, have you, when you've got coils of your rope and the reins and everything in one hand. There's not much to be done with your hands. Yeah, it makes that transition easier if you've got your thumbs almost close enough to touch, unless the horse is in big trouble. Then the rules fall away and you just go, well,
do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So what brought about the interest of bridle horses to you? How long have you been aiming toward that, and what started that for you?
When I was showing them, I didn't realize there was two different styles. In the old Western days, you had the California style and Texas style that they used to talk about here. And I just thought, two styles, that's about it. And then when I was teaching in Germany, they said they got Jeff Sanders had gone over there. Jeff's sixth generation vaquero in his background. So I went to see him in Nevada and asked him to come to Australia. So he came out, did a few clinics, and just watching what he could do sort of filled in a lot of holes for me that I'm using my hands too much. I didn't really set the body up with my body, because he's going from half pass left, half pass right in a bridle with his hand in the middle. And I was watching the video at the time going, how is he changing flexion? Like, I can't see his fingers moving. How is he changing the bend in the horse? And it was not with his hands at all. It's just with his body. So that sent me down a journey. And of course, my horse was the emotional voice. I'm trying to get a bridle horse out of a horse that used to want to run up all the time. So it's taken a while. Now he's 22, so he's quiet. It's worked out pretty well. But yeah, just bubbling reins and changing reins and realizing how soft a horse can really get. I think people reach out a lot with their hands because they never refine things enough. They don't get the horse soft enough to bend from a real close grip, because the horse gets stiff. If he's stiff, he just backs up instead of bending. The horse has to be pretty damn supple through his whole spine to understand that you want to bend and not to just tighten up his neck muscles and back up off one rein. And I wish everybody could start like that. It would be nice if that was the first experience you had. But when I talked to Jeff when he was a young boy, they'd stick him on a bridle horse to learn to ride, and put bits of cotton between the reins and the bit. So he never learned to have to pull on a horse to do anything, which would have been a great way to learn. If we all learned like that, then you've all got this place you were heading towards when you start on a green horse. But I don't know what you feel about that. I think even with a school horse, if he's a brilliant school horse, it's great. You learn all this stuff, but you still don't learn how that was achieved. How did somebody get this horse that you're riding today to learn to do exactly what he's doing? So I like the school horse teaching you how to ride, but it still doesn't teach you how to train it. And everybody's a trainer.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. There really seem to be almost two different kind of horse people. There kind of are the greener horse foundational trainer types, and then there are the more finished horse people, and seldom is that the same person. There really seems to be those two different categories, and I guess neither of us fully appreciate the other. We only see the holes in what the other is doing and how they should do it better.
Yeah.
So one thing you brought up, this seems to be a perpetual I hope that the listeners don't get sick of me asking this question, but you kind of brought it up. So straightness. I feel like we very seldom see straightness, and what I would say we see in its place 90% of the time is stiffness. So you're nodding your head, so I'll just throw that at you, and you can unpack that as you see fit.
Do you want me to just agree with you or just talk about it?
No, talk about it.
Yeah. This guy, I can't drop his name anyway, he's pretty famous. Manolo Mendez is a guy over in Melbourne he was head rider in Jerez in Spain when he was living in Spain. And he was just talking about circles and 20-meter circles and 10-meter circles and stuff. And he said, can you imagine a train track that's just set out on a 10-meter circle or a 20-meter circle, every carriage of the vertebra, and you're trying to get them all to line up on the trail. And if you get the body lined up, you ride forwards, you're doing a 10-meter circle. If you get it lined up on a 20-meter arc, you're doing a 20-meter circle. And it was really clear what he said. And I thought, because I understand. I ride horses, I understand. And I got on my horse and went, no, I don't understand. Because I'm actually braining him constantly to do the circle. He's not on a circle. So it set me off another quest. I need to get his whole body in the arc that I want to ride on, and relaxed on that arc and just traveling forwards. I shouldn't need to use my reins to keep him on it. All I should need to do is keep my body lined up on the circle and everything should work, which he does now. And then because I realized, well, I didn't know that, and probably most other people don't think about it either. They're just steering. I just want to do a circle. So straightness is, in my mind, straightness. If you're in a straight line is a straight line. If you're on an arc, straightness on a circle is every part of the horse is on that arc, and it's supple and it's relaxed, and it can be empowered on the arc. You can actually have collection, but the horse puts himself into carriage because you've asked him to. And so when people ask me, why is your horse so soft and light, it's because he decides to go like that. I'm asking him to do something, and his brain is telling his body to shape up and do what I'm asking him to do. I'm not forcing him into a shape and making him stay in that shape. He's worked out now, if I put my body in a shape, in a certain position, if he puts himself on that arc, there's no more signal. It's like, cool, you're comfortable now. You're doing a nice circle. That's great. Let's drop. Cool. That's nice. Let's canter. That's good. Let's stop. But stay on the arc unless I tell you to do something else. Anytime I get stiffness in him, this took me a long time and there's a story behind this too. Every time there's stiffness in him, he's not understanding what I'm asking of him. And he's confused, and then when he's confused, he starts to guess. And it took me a person to not turn up for a lesson one day for me to start experimenting with something to actually find out why he wasn't doing what I wanted him to do. I'll tell you the story if you're interested, but
Sure.
Because I love reining, so I used to, when I was competing, I was into reining. Anyway, he's the only horse that I had trouble with the rollbacks with him, and he just doesn't know whether we're going straight or we're going to go left or going right, and he's trying to guess, as I'm backing up to get him ready, he's trying to guess. Anyway, I'm interstate doing a group of lessons, and I took him with me, and somebody doesn't turn up for the lesson, so I've got an hour gap. I'm sitting on him thinking, what am I going to do? Shall I get off and put my gear away for a while and saddle up again? And no, must be something I play with. I go, these rollbacks, and part of me doesn't want to practice, because it usually turns messy. Okay. What's going on with the stop? So I'd start to back up, and then think, I'm going to back up, and when he's ready to go left, because I'm rolling back to the left. And he starts to go right and go left, go straight, and guess left to right. So I'll stop again and went, why is he doing that? Then while he's guessing. Okay, he's guessing. Why are you guessing? Well, because you don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, right. That should have been obvious. You don't know, so you're guessing. All right. And people would say anticipating. He's anticipating. No, he's thinking he's going to do what you're trying to set him up for. So I'll stop again. I think, okay, when does he need to stop? When does he need to know what I'm going to do? And this will probably be obvious to you, but he needs to know before I actually stop what it's going to be after we stop, because there's not much time after a stop in a rollback. There's a stop and then we roll back. So within that hour, I start, okay, I'm going down the fence. I'm going to roll back to the left. I'll put some weight in the left stirrup. Just pick up a tiny bit of left rein to put a tiny bit of bend in him. Stop, roll back to the left. Within an hour, he's going, roll back to the right, loping off softly, to the left softly, stopping him with both feet, even in the stirrups, straight, backing up. I'm like, okay, over 2 years of messing with this, and it takes an hour to fix it. Why do you not think about what you're doing all the time and keep practicing what always works with every other horse? So, yeah. So he's even straight on a rollback now. I can feel there's a bend as I stop, but he hasn't disengaged. He hasn't let his hips come out because he knows this is a rollback. So I've started to teach people every single message you want the horse to understand needs to be different. Subtly different, but different. So he doesn't anticipate. If he's anticipating, he doesn't actually know what you want him to do next. So, yeah, started with straightness, but that's just, he was reading my body, because I'd back him up straight and then I'd go left. So he's guessing which one is it going to be, because you're backing me up and then you're going to make a decision, left or right. So even when I back up, I used to teach everybody, you back up and then pick up a left front, go left, back up, pick up a right front, go right. Now I've started going, if you're backing straight, get them straight. If you're going to turn left, bend them first, then start to back them and turn them. So right from zero, first time ever, he knows that's a left turn, that's a right turn, that's straight. And then you get better backups because the horse isn't guessing, are we going to turn? Are we not going to turn? Are we going to? So, yeah, the mental side of it. So, yes, straightness is not stiffness, no.
I'll say, so my background was from cutting horses. And so a double hind leg locked up stop was kiss of death, because there's always a turn coming up right after that. So it's more like there's always a lead. And so you're going to stop with a right hind dominant stop if you're fixing to turn left, cow's on your left, or you're going to stop with a left hind dominant stop if the cow's on your right. And so I back horses on diagonals. I don't ever really back them straight. I actually want them kind of wiggling left and right and left and right. And so the clue there, whether we're going to turn, is whether I ask you to turn if you're bent right or if you're bent left, because your body's going to be positioned one way or the other. So that lateral flexion thing, like I'm really, really obsessive about keeping them very, very bendy and nothing really in the form of straightness or stiffness, I guess.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: you have you kind of use these two words together very often. And since you use them together, I'm going to assume that you have a clear difference between them. And I would probably use them as synonyms more often than not. So softness versus lightness. What would be the differentiation there for you?
You could have a horse that's pretty rigid in its body that will move its feet and respond to the rein fairly lightly. Softness would be the horse giving its whole body and being soft through its body before it responds to the cue. So let's say you're going to back up. Some people pick up the reins, the horse is backing up with its nose stuck out in a brace. I go, yeah, you got to back up, but I wouldn't rate that back up unless you had softness as well as movement. So that's what I mean by it.
So softness is more the mental side of it. That's where people have that kind of wall built up, that brace inside the.
Yeah.
So a horse could be light but not soft, and that's more the reactionary frame of mind.
Yeah. It's something that Johnson Ryan said to me that another one of those things that changed me a lot. My horse was always, I thought he was really responsive. And he said, between a request and a response, there should be a pause. I went, okay, a longer pause. He said, second and a half. I went, my horse doesn't take a second and a half. And I had a horse I'm having a lot of trouble with, like he's a bit emotional. I don't know what goes on in his brain, but he's 14, 15 now, and I can ride him in the arena, but if I take him out, something will happen and I'll just lose control of his brain. Like he'll just freak out completely. So I started with him, get his head down, get him ready to back up, weights. Does he just do things? So I went, weights. I might not do anything. No, take a step, stop, wait. Put that little pause in between things, because what I was thinking was responsiveness was more of a reaction to my cue. He wasn't considering it. He was going, oh my God, I got to be light, got to be soft, got to be light. So it was actually an emotional response to my cue. When my horse started, my older horse, when he started to feel a bit lazy, everybody started to say, oh man, he's amazing. He's so soft and he just lopes off. And I'm saying, that was late. But they went, no, he was great. I'm like, no, it feels late to me. And it took me a while to go, I need to fall in love with late. Even though it's only a fraction, it's not a reaction. Like he's not reacting to the cue. He's going, oh, he wants to pick up my shoulders and lope off. I'm like, yeah. And instead of like, we've gone. So yeah, you're not a working cow horse. You don't need to be like that. You need to. So yeah, and that's another change, is helping me to go. People generally don't need a reaction. They need the horse to consider the request and then respond to the request, not just react to the request, because that doesn't help people's confidence. If they're at all nervous anyway, they don't want a horse that's punchy like that. They really want the bit of moment, because it wouldn't work too well. Maybe in cutting horse, you don't want to pause, you want to go for it. Mm-hmm. But even then, I did have a talk with people about you can get a horse too bendy. I think it was an American guy years ago. And no, you can't. Yeah, you can. You can get them all rubbery. And this conversation turned into a bit of an argument. And in the end, I realized he was losing control of the feet. It wasn't that the horse was too bendy. It was that the connection down to the feet and the movement of the feet or the shoulders was gone. Well, that's a different problem. That's a rider issue. That's not too bendy, too soft. And he didn't reply again, which was interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I'll leave that alone. Yeah, people don't always want the truth. Sometimes the truth is a little confronting, and they would rather the.
Shouldn't ask for your opinion then, should they?
Yeah. So what about you? I really like the example of the railroad track circle. I use that one myself a lot.
Yeah.
So how do you square contact versus having a horse that might be or let's say accepting contact. I would say what we see as contact and what contact should be are very different things. But a horse that can take and accept contact versus the sort of horse that's constantly trying to get behind the bit and really is evading contact. How does that sort of set up and square itself with you? I'm not sure I'm articulating this very well, but
No, I think I've got what you mean. Yeah. Again, you get some horses that you ride that you pick up a little more rein and they bend a bit more. They don't give you they're following a feel with their neck, but not with the whole cue. Jeff Sanders said something, and I translate that to my own words. He basically said, I want my horse to be a millimeter away from contact. And I went, how do I explain that? And what does it really mean? So when I'm teaching the same thing, I'll pick up my horse, I'll get him really soft. And I go, okay, if I move my body, and I'll start with my shoulders. If I come back with my shoulders, that's move my hands. I haven't come back with my elbows, but I've just come back with my shoulders. That's changed the feel. He should back up now. And the horse backs up. He said, so you don't pull on the reins? I said, no, that's the context. I've got him where I want him. If he feels anything changing, then I want that millimeter of change to move something, either backwards or left or right or whatever. But it's not just my hands, it's my whole body. I change my whole body, but I know my body and my hands are coming together so that at some point, if I don't use my hands, it will respond to my body. And if I don't use my body, it'll respond to my hands. That's another one that I think it was Buck Bannerman that said, reins with no legs or legs with no reins. Like he's trying to teach the horse to respond to multiple different ideas. If you've just got your legs, you should be able to do things. If you've just got your reins, you should be able to do things. So I don't want my horse coming underneath. I don't want him under the vertical. And I do want him soft enough that if I change the feel, he could hurry a little bit, rather than just get all bendy and wad up on me.
Yes, sir.
I don't like riding those horses. They just feel like they just wad up and their head and neck just gets deeper.
No,
and they actually feel like they're on the forehand, even though they're really bendy. They're really bendy, but they feel heavy. I was like, whoa, don't like it.
Yeah, with the stuff that I do with bits and people, one of the primary, like if I had a nickel for every time I've said this, I could retire right now. But a lot of it is about slowing your hands down. People get reactionary with their hands, and like they're asking the horse to stop and then pulling harder, and they've gone to the escalation before the horse could have possibly felt the first pull and responded to it. Kind of like they fall in love with late. You got to give them the time to process the thing and respond before you're asking for more.
Recently I had a few people trying to stop the horses, and I just said, pick up a feel and wait for them to stop. And like, well, I've asked it to stop back there. I said, yeah, but when it stops, drop the reins, and then that's the lesson that I had. And of course they're going, why is the horse getting lighter? I said, well, because he's understanding now that what you mean by what you're offering. And then he's not taking as long to get himself set, because he's going, they want to stop, not we're going and suddenly you pull on my mouth. And I also think that they just use their hands too quickly. They're not using their body and their seat to stop and then go, hey, I've just asked you to stop. Could we stop? So the horse is going from forwards to suddenly bang, bits, stop. And like, how is he ever going to work that out? That suddenly he's gone from forwards energy and motion to whoa, without his brain working out what's coming.
It seems like getting defensive is a pretty appropriate response to that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like he's being disobedient. No, he's not being disobedient.
No. I would be a terrible horse. Yeah, if someone put a rope around me and pulled on me like that, yeah, we'd be in a fight real quick. I wouldn't be nearly as kind as most of these horses are.
Well, it's like the Ray Hunt line. If I was your horse, I could be the best horse you'd ever been, or I'd be the worst son of a bitch you've ever seen. He said, I'd buck you off. I wouldn't celebrate that shit. I thought that was so funny. And he's sincere when he said it too.
So one of the themes that you've kind of hit on here a few times is basically that this stuff doesn't generally take very long, and I tend to agree with that. If you've been working on this for very long at all, then odds are you need to change course rather than stay the course most of the time. Do you run across people that are almost believe slowness is a virtue, that it's better to take a horse? It's like they're cooking a brisket. This will be better if I let it take 6 months rather than 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And do you run into that sort of stuff very much?
Yeah, I do. I think horses can learn way faster than people can keep up in general. But the thing that takes the time is the muscle, isn't it? Building up the muscle and the bone and the horse that's being ridden, not so much the mind. The mind can be shaped pretty quickly.
Or unshaped pretty quickly.
Or unshaped, yeah. This little filly I've been riding, I hardly ride her for an hour, but she gives me some really good stuff, and I just put her away. Went, why do I need to wait till you're only a little pony and I'm 80 something kilos? Like, I don't really need to put a lot more time on your back if you've already got the message. Just put you away.
Mm-hmm. So one of the challenges that I think of, how I want to say this, I don't want to offend most of the audience here.
Just most of them.
Yeah. There's kind of this notion that you're the best person to train your own horse. And I don't agree with that. I don't, most of the people that I'm working with, at least, I'm not going to drag you into the pool with me. You can join me if you like, but you can stand up on the shore as well. Most of the people are trying to build skills that they don't have and train a horse at the same time. And so there's really two very different challenges that are occurring simultaneously here. And it's hard to kind of fight a war on two fronts. And so I try to often divide time up into, this is rider skill building. It's not for the horse, it's for you. And now we're doing something else, and this is for the horse. This is where you need to, all your emotions need to be in your pocket. We're not going to celebrate. We're not going to get down. We're not going to whatever. You're here to support that animal right there. You don't really have a right to emotions at this particular moment in time. You need to be kind of.
Wow. Does that work for you?
With some people, yeah. I actually, I have, I'm pretty big on that the emotions don't belong in the arena with us. I actually have a mailbox at my arena at home, and that is for you to put your emotions, the fight with your spouse, the whatever the hell is going on in your life. You put that in the mailbox before the ride, and then if you want to pick it back up when you leave the arena, you're welcome to. Most of the time, just leave it in there. I'll even throw like if I have people that get too emotional, most of the time it's celebratory, but sometimes it's frustration. I throw math problems at them and stuff like that, and just try to get them out of that limbic system in their brain and back into thinking and shut that stuff off as quickly as possible and get them back rational rather than emotional.
Yeah.
But I know I'm weird.
Yeah.
But some people.
Well, the guy I was talking about earlier, that I saw doing the Western riding with his arms folded, I started going for weekly lessons with him because I just wanted to be good at stuff. And after a few lessons, he went, "Boy, I think you just need to go home and ride for 6 months and then come back when you learn to ride." Because I'm trying to learn to do all this stuff. And I went, "You can't even balance yet. Why? You're wasting your money. Just go and sit on a horse and ride for a while." And it takes time. And I think you say no a lot. You're really frustrated at times that you can't do what I've just showed you. But I've spent 40 odd years practicing. If you can do it in a day, maybe I'm going to be pissed off. I'll be the one that's emotional because it's taken me so damn long to learn how to do this. But the one thing that is really hard to teach anyone is feel, because feel is not something that comes out of words. Feeling of the horse itself was great word that I heard a long time. And it's, now I can feel where the legs are and where the body is and where the head is and neck is and stuff without looking. But I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's really important to be able to feel what I feel, to be able to do what I do. I also know if they can't, some of the things that they're trying to do are not going to work today. Because it only works because you feel what's going on and you're in time with it. John did say that one of the most important things that he learned from Tom was, Tom would just say, when everything goes wrong, usually it's because somebody was late. It was shaping up, you didn't notice it happened, and then you're trying to be reactive to the situation. You weren't ahead of the situation. When I watch buck riding, I've seen him ride a horse that looked really quiet when he rode it and put it out, and his handler settled it up for him at lunchtime and nearly got flattened by it because it was so herd bound to another horse. Yet he was riding it, and there's no obvious signs of connection. But he's so well ahead of what's about to go wrong that it doesn't go wrong. He's already changed his idea, gone somewhere else, changed the horse's mind. And I'm trying to be more and more like that. But then you need more feel. You got to be able to feel something that's going to happen before it happens so that you can just head it off. And some horses are not for their owners. I'm trying to be honest enough to go, maybe it's the wrong horse, instead of going, we can fix everything. Maybe this horse is not the one that you should be riding, because if you're a -3 on the scale and it's a -10, it's like, well, that's not a great mixture. Maybe you need to be a +10 to deal with a -10, not a.
Yeah.
But that's hard because people love horses, don't they? So they've already got an emotional attachment to the animal. It's just not a very practical attachment. It's just emotional. Not every horse suits everybody.
Yeah. I completely agree. So I'll candidly say here, my journey of horsemanship and building my skills, mine was very fraught with frustration. Like I would get to where I would plateau at certain things, and I would just get mad as hell at myself for not being able to figure this out. And there were many just throw my hands up in the air moments of exasperation. So as I'm working with people on those sorts of things, I'm pretty careful. I guess what I lacked when I was learning that stuff, I came up under the apprentice system, so it wasn't ever like they were specifically teaching me. I was there to work, and I was able to learn through osmosis, but there wasn't a whole lot of hand holding or lesson time for Daniel kind of stuff, So when I'm teaching people, I try to be very careful and explain, like when we start working with feeling of the feet, I very much prepare them and say, this is hard. You're not about to figure this out in 10 minutes. And in fact, in 6 months, you're probably going to be crying in the shower in the fetal position, cussing me. So just understand that's the journey that you're on right now. If you choose not to do it, you just want to try ride and enjoy yourself, that's a perfectly legitimate choice, because there's tears down the road I'm showing you right now. That's how this is going to go. Do you work with people that way? Do you find a lot? I realize I may be a little hotter headed than some, but that frustration element of people as their skill building, how do you work that in?
I try and do that, the amount of years it's taken me, and tell them about how long it's taken certain parts of my journey. Like the timing to the feet, I think, was at least 4 or 5 years of me really struggling to get it. And then when I did get it, I accidentally was roping and I picked up a hind leg in my loop. I'm trying to get it off. And every time I flicked it off, I still got it on. Oh, well, I'm flicking it off, but the foot hits the ground every time. And it's still in there because foot's on the ground. And then started going with the leg, because I'm like, you know what? That is totally in time with the swing in the belly. Seriously, you've been trying to work this out for 4 years. And you've never realized what the body's doing in the top is totally connected to what's going on the ground. And if I'd never roped that leg, I think I'd have still been struggling with the damn job of trying to feel what's going on. because I couldn't feel that little movement in the hips. It's not a great movement, but down at the belly is a massive pendulum swing, and it's totally in time with the front legs, hind legs, whole stride. So I try and teach people that. And I said, you might not rope a leg, even though I've told everybody that it saved me the next few years. You might not be confident enough to want to do it, and most of them don't. I said, if you could get your horse used to a rope on a leg and then ride with it, you'd get instant feedback of where those feet are. And it's, you want a short journey, you want a long journey. It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
If your emotions get in the way, then it'll be a longer journey because you'll avoid doing what I've offered you to do. And I didn't have that problem. I had lack of knowledge. I had a ridiculous bravado, I suppose, about I'll be fine. I never had I'm going to get myself hurt feeling. So that was different. I didn't have to deal with fear. Some people are dealing with lack of knowledge and lack of confidence and fear of the horse, which is just a really tough combination of things.
Yeah, the people that are afraid, that is a very big, and some of them have every right to be. I've seen people on horses that I'm like, you're not as afraid as you should be of that one, but
Yeah.
then I've also seen people that have had a bad wreck, and if the horse flicks an ear after that, they think the sky is falling, they're fixing to die at any second. And I'm like, no, everything's fine. That's a challenge to deal with for sure.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I've been about a week ago, I put my horse away and I'm coming up on like a little scooter, a little Yamaha scooter thing. And I hit a bit of a rock and it shot out from underneath me and I twisted my ankle. So I've been limping around for the week and still riding. And just 5 minutes before we got on air today, phone rings. It's the doctor. Yeah, you got your x-rays back. It's broken. I'm like, shit. I fly to England on Monday.
Oh,
It's like, great. He said, yeah, you need a moon boot. I'm like, I put my boots on every day and I've got out and done the jobs and rode the horse. And he's, no. I'm like, what am I now? What the? I got to keep going. I can't stop. So it's like, oh well, there you go. Bloody scooters. Don't go near them.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope you get healed up and out of pain as quickly.
It's surprising that it's broken. It's shots because I can walk on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
just have to get on a horse. I'll be right.
Yes, sir. I was just at a mule week for Ty Evans, and I suffer from gout. I've been trying to get the medication and all of that sorted out, and I wound up having a gout attack right before we started that. It's in my left ankle. And then there were a few people that asked me to ride their mule, and your left ankle is kind of important when it comes to mounting something. And I know it hurt so bad to get up on there. I must have looked terrible mounting those mules, but I was like, well, it's like trying to get on with a broken ankle. Literally, it's what it feels like. So just do the best you can do sometimes.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah. Oh well, shit happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's that say?
Well, so what does your life look like with clinics these days? Have you slowed down a little bit on that, or are you still just as busy as ever, or what? Obviously, you're about to fly to
change
England.
my focus. Yeah, that's just a one-off, a little private clinic. But I've been trying to stay home more, and I was figuring this is again how beliefs and facts are different. I used to think, only people could have time off at weekends to do clinics. It'd be great to stay home more. And so it just, COVID came, and then I had to start horses again because we couldn't get out and actually teach. So I'd gone from not wanting to start horses to going, okay, time to go again after 5-6 year break, that was a bit tough getting back into. And then we started advertising camps at home. I think I might do a camp. Booked it, 5-day camp, full. Oh, I'll put a second one on, full. Third one on, full. So we did 5 in a row, full. And now we've got some friends over, and they'll come for 2 weeks with a group of friends or 3 weeks with a group of friends. I think, wow, that's like 90% of my time at home now instead of on the road, which I didn't believe would ever happen, because you think, oh, people won't take time off work, and they just make it a holiday and take time off. And especially with a group of people that they know, they'll come over and do it again and again. So that's at the moment, looking to do more online stuff, and been really thinking about confidence, how to, and I've sort of got it fleshed out, but I'll get a confidence course going with dealing with fear and tiny steps towards getting braver. Because it's too easy to say what we would do, and it's not what they can do. You can be paralyzed by fear. So just trying to get them through that will be a goal. And stay home more, ride my own horses more.
Yeah, I have kind of often thought that, like, there are several other podcasts that'll always throw a question in about how do you deal with fear and stuff. And I kind of think most of us that do this professionally have a little, maybe we're a little touched in the head, and probably our risk assessment and things like that is not in line with the average person whatsoever. You don't do this at that level and with that level of obsession.
No.
If you have a normal, healthy level of fear
No.
in you, something has to be a little different about you to do that. So sometimes it can be hard to relate to the average person, because you don't.
Well, I do it, like, because my wife's the opposite to me now. She had a couple of bad accidents, and she's probably the perfect student to model building confidence on, because she doesn't want to ride things that are not dead quiet anymore. Whereas when we met, she'd ride anything, Oh, X-ray source, yeah, I'll take it down the beach and gallop it for you. I'll do whatever. So to see coming from that to losing that is be nice to get it all back again. But I remember my friend something had happened, and he'd just take his pulse and go, I wonder how that's affected my heart rate. And I've got the Apple Watch on now, and it gives me the heart rate stuff. So last time was, I'd been starting this horse for somebody for 6 weeks. I had roped off the fence over it, but not on it. And she turns up, and I'm riding around, walking, trotting. It's looking pretty nice. And my rope's just sitting on a barrel. I was just going to pick the rope up. Go up to pick the rope up, and he does the, so, I won't do that. Just drop it. Anyway, too late, mate. Takes off across the arena, bucking in between his legs, bucking. Can't bend him, can't stop him. I'll guide him into the corner. So I guide him into the corner, and he stops. And I'm like, 65 heart rate thing. It's amazing how we focus on a solution, don't we? Something's not going right, and you focus on, how do I get him stopped? How do I get him bent? Where's the safest place to put him? Rather than freak out and try and jump off a horse and get yourself injured even more.
Yeah.
But you can't teach somebody that. I think it's just, you've lived through enough slightly bad rides and worse rides until you try to not let it happen, but it can happen.
Yeah.
Just trying to prepare for those times is the hard part. Just, can you get your horse so he doesn't need to do that stuff?
Definitely. It's just kind of a numbers game. Yep.
Yeah, well, those people that jump at the skydiving and jump off buildings, they're just amazing what they can do. It's like, how would you do that when you've only got 50 feet to open your parachute before it's too late? Yeah, it should be fine. Climb up a skyscraper with no ropes. It's like, no. Don't think so.
Yep.
Adrenaline junkie.
Yes, sir. It's amazing what we can find to do to relax.
It is. It is. So I'd like to. So you've studied the bits then yourself, and you've gone that way to study what's going on in the mouth and how bits work.
I have. My original background in education was in engineering, and so I've already had a lot of training in physics and stuff like that, and that actually kind of happened by accident when I kind of shifted from the cutting horse world and training outside horses to the clinician world, I knew I needed some bona fides, different, I didn't have a reputation in that realm. And so I did some YouTube videos on bits explaining them, because that is one of those areas where there's just a ton of misinformation and bad information out there. And and those kind of took off, and so I decided I would lean into it. And here we are 15 years later on a whole different course that I never planned on. But I like it. We make a difference. That's kind of the ultimate
That's good
deal.
Well, I didn't think about it much, but we've been going into, from a while going to tech stores, something like Western stores. I can't believe now I can't find a mild steel bit anywhere, and I can't find anything with copper in it. And it's like, what happened? What happened to rows and rows of sweet iron snaffles and copper? And it seems to have gone. So it's all stainless steel Milo bits. And
yeah, the bit industry is not in a real good place. The trends that they seem to be following, and I understand what they're doing. I mean, their job is to sell bits, and so whatever the consumer buys is what they lean into. But yeah, we're not going in better directions right now. And as I've questioned a lot of bit makers and had discussions and things, and it's frightening how much they actually don't understand about bits and how they function and some of the physics and mechanics about it. I mean, there are a few companies out there that have videos, and they'll discuss this bit that they've got, and it's wrong sentence by sentence by, like, literally everything they say about this bit is debunkable, and yet here they are selling thousands of them and stuff, and so we aim to have an impact. And at the same time, I'm not a bit snob. I mean, I'm very much, Picasso's paintbrush is not what made him Picasso. It isn't so much the tool, it is about the feel and all of the things that you're going with. But people are very often trying to solve training problems with a new mechanical device, and there are mechanical devices that lend themselves to certain, the right tool for the right job, and there is a pretty clear path there as to how stuff works. So anyway,
no worries. Maybe I have to get you on the podcast as well, then do a reciprocal podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I really would like to see you resurrect. I don't think you've done an episode in a year or something like that.
No,
it's been quite a while. I'm
a bit adverse to chasing people up and doing stuff and annoying people, so I probably need to do that.
I get it. No, I totally understand that part. I would love to have somebody that did all that, and I just kind of had to show up for the interview, and because I feel like I'm bothering everybody with the emails, and then like with you, we're in different time zones, so I'm late getting back to you, and it's I hate that kind of stuff. So I appreciate your grace in us finally meeting face to face or on Zoom.
No problem. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully you have a great tour when you come over here.
I'm very much looking forward to it. Yes, sir. I know we've got
I'll see if we can rearrange Yeah. Well, Katie, we're going to go through the bits in a little while with her. She wants to have a look through all my bits in the shed. So spades and half breeds and snaffles and all sorts of stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Probably get it on she can ride my horse. I don't think I'll be riding him now with my great news.
Well, I'll ask you one other question, and then we'll kind of get into your offerings, and I'll let you go. But we did kind of talk about all the noise that's out there right now. So, do you have any advice to the average person out there that's looking for help and good advice on how they might cut through the noise? And
I don't know. I'm a bit like you. I don't really believe in this, fuzzy side of the horsemanship where you just basically hope the horse loves you and everything gets better. I think horsemanship has been around for a long, long time. Reinventing the wheel isn't going to change anything. And there's a lot of things happening now that I think if you're emotional, there are people out there looking for you to be part of that journey, and they'll keep you on that emotional journey rather than actually give you the actual tools to get out of that place and be in a confident, good relationship with your horse where you trust each other. And I guess that's a business decision. If people are looking, it's like the bits. If people are just looking for some support, they'll find somebody who's willing to support them in that, even if you're not really being helped.
Mm-hmm. Take their money anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can't get past safety. Getting horses ready for what Ray Hunt used to say, get them ready for the unthinkable, because one day it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of trying to, and I understand that horses learn most in their comfort zone, but you can't keep there. They're going to get out of there, and if they've got no tools when they get out of there, then God help you, because you've got no preparation at all for it.
Mm-hmm.
And even myself, I've got to, I'll canter down the fence line and do a one-round stop and wander off on a loose rein, and they're like, wow, he doesn't get wound up. It's not supposed to wind him up. It's supposed to be confident, relaxed. It's not a punishment. It's just like, we're gone, we're stopped. It's done.
Yeah.
And they've got horses that, even at the walk, they're almost leaving. It's like, if it gets into a canter, you're in serious trouble. The emotion will come up with the speed, and then you'll be in trouble. So I think the best thing I can say is safety first. If they're not preaching safety for you, then maybe it's not what you need at that moment in time.
I absolutely agree with you. There's definitely some stuff out there that you see, and you kind of wonder how they haven't gotten somebody killed yet. With what you see, that's one of those, one of the things I judge people on. I've seen some vets and stuff like that, and you're kind of wondering if this vet's pretty practical, and then you see them work around a horse, and you can tell they know where to stand, where they can't get kicked. But if they were 6 inches more this way, they'd be in a danger zone. But like, they know those spots and everything. Like, okay, they know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I see professionals that are standing where they shouldn't be a lot, and they're out teaching people, and that just makes me cringe. But anyway,
yeah.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the offerings and videos and courses and clinics? It's kind of my dream to be able to do what you're doing right now. I'd love to have the place and have the people come to me and sleep in my own bed next to my wife every night, and then go have a clinic right in my backyard. That would be wonderful, but not quite there yet.
Yeah. So. No, well, I did the 5 months in Europe every year and slowly cut it down to less and less, and now I'm home. But basically, we've got a Facebook page, Light Hands Equitation, so all the clinics will be on there, and my website, stevehalfpenny.com. Got some online courses on there if anybody's interested in them. And look out for, join our mailing list and look out for what's coming up. You can join that on the website. But I'm really keen on this confidence course. I want to get that going because my whole business seems to have shifted a lot more towards that. Every time I put a confidence course on, it's booked out. So I'm putting more and more of those on. So that seems to be where we get older and things happen, and especially if a lady's sort of had kids and got out of horsemanship for some years to get back into it, they just need to build those skills back up that they had. Because I think they are slightly perishable. Like, if you don't practice things, you do get out of the habit of having a reflex. Horsemanship to me is more like a martial art. You practice things enough, you just do it. You don't think. You react to what you're feeling and what's happening, and you've done it already. So that's how do you not be late? You only not be late by practicing skills over and over and over till it's a response rather than a thought out thing to do. Mm-hmm. What's a horse from 0 to 100 pretty fast, so your response has to be fairly quick. So yeah, I'm not a great salesman, so they'll find me if they're looking for me. I find that really hard.
Yes, sir. No, I understand. It's I have to remind myself sometimes with the promotions, like if I had to feed my family, would I be willing to go ride on a garbage truck or whatever? And so that I'm like, all right, you're already willing to do things you might find distasteful. This is just another distasteful thing that you should do, but you just don't want to, and so you go do it. But
I'll give it a go.
so yeah, in the clinician game, kind of like we said, the riders they're gaining skills, and then they're also training a horse. We are training horses and we're training people. So which do you find harder to train, the person or the horse?
You ask the question you know the answer to, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do. Absolutely. One day I'll figure out why that is. Yeah.
When I'm doing demonstrations now, you've done it for so long, and you'll be the same. I'll say, okay, I'll show you what I think you need to learn, and then I'll tell you what I've shown you, and then you can show me what you think you've seen me do. And I bet you I'll get 10 or 11, 12 different versions of that, depending on how many people are here. But it's just fascinating about your power of observation and your power of knowing what you're doing yourself is just total mismatch to what you've just been watching.
Yeah.
And that makes it hard, isn't it? Because if you keep practicing what you think you've seen, but not what you've actually seen, you don't get the results. And often the people will watch the horse, not the handler. So they're watching what the horse is doing. So you didn't see how the horse responded to the person giving the cues. You just were watching the horse. You need to watch the one orchestrating what's going on with the horse.
Do you work with, or have you worked with very many children?
No, I sort of avoid that very, to my best ability. I avoid working with children.
Well, so I have to say, children are actually easier to teach than adults, because if you tell a kid to ride forward and pick up your left hand, the kid will ride forward and pick up their left hand. If you tell an adult to do that, they're going to do that, or it might be their right hand, in all honesty. But they're going to do that and 8 other things you didn't ask them to do. And now you have, okay, look, I said to do this. What did you think I was? Because you did this and this and this and this and this. And that wasn't part of what we said. I just want you to do this. People have a hard time doing that.
Yeah.
But believe in how simple it really is.
I think sometimes I like to say, pretend you can't ride, you've never ridden before. Don't do what you think I want you to do. Do what I ask you to do. Because you're going to respond and just do what you think is necessary to do the task, rather than just do what I say. So even not giving them the task sometimes, if I want them to turn left, I might not say turn left. I just pick up the rein, put your outside right leg on, turn your whole body to the left, the horse turns. You tell them to do it, they do what they think they need to do it. And then it's not at all lined up with what I was going to try and ask them to do.
Yeah. It's a fun job we've picked here.
It's great. Yeah. It's better than working, though. We could always get a job if we didn't like this.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Oh, and I haven't been on, we're having finally a busy year and we're traveling a lot. So I'm not nearly at the point where I'm complaining about being on the road. I still feel very lucky and blessed to get to do it and see all the places that we're seeing. But at the same time, time away from family and all gets to you. So
it does. I was lucky my wife used to come with me on the road when we did all that. So it was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my wife does travel with me most of the time, but we've got a 14-year-old son. And so that's the tricky part. We've kind of flirted with pulling him out of school and homeschooling him, but there's not a black and white. Everything there is a give and take in a gray area. So we're still navigating that. But anyway, it is what it is. So
good.
Well, Steve, I really do appreciate your time this morning. I don't want to keep you too long or anything, but I've enjoyed chatting with you. I hope I get to see you face to face. I know we will have a clinic not too far from Adelaide over there, so maybe we'll get to visit with you then or something when we come. And again, thank you.
I'll try and make it happen if I can.
Yeah, we'll have links to all of your your social media and website and everything in the show notes, so everybody, you can check Steve out. And again, thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate it. And congratulations on ultimate high score on the icebreaker questions too. Very good.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you next week for another episode of Adult Onset Horsemanship. I've been your host, Daniel Dolphin.